You said a phrase that you need to shift, and you said people are trying to find time. I was trying to find time, and you will never find time. It's not under the bed with your ab rocker that you bought 20 years ago. It's not under the bed. You don't find time. You only make time. Starting at 6 a.m., you go till about noon, and then you have a couple hour break, and then everybody gets done work or done school, and they come back in. You might leave at 6 or 7 o'clock at night. It's a very draining day. I tried to work on my online business when I got home, but that was 7 o'clock at night, and I remember one night, it felt like someone was shoving glass shards in my eyes because it was so hard to keep my eyes open in front of the computer. And I realized, here I am, in my 20s, and I'm already getting up at 10 to 5 in the morning, and I got to get up earlier because that's the only way that I'm going to make this work. I decided I'd get up at 4:30 in the morning and work on my online business for 20 minutes. And so I decided I would make time in the morning. I wasn't going to find any time during the day. I was going to make time.
Welcome back to another episode of the Beyond the Scale podcast. I am your host, Mary Katherine, and today we have a very special guest. I am actually filming this in Cancun, in Mexico. We're at a Fit Body Mastermind, and I have the great privilege of sitting down with Craig Ballantyne. Craig has owned 4 Fit Body Bootcamp locations. He recently sold his last one in Charleston, South Carolina, one of my favorite places. Craig currently lives in Cancun with his wife and 2 daughters. He wrote the Perfect Week Formula and the Perfect Day Formula and is a longtime friend of Bryce, the CEO, and Bedros, the founder of Fit Body Bootcamp. So join us today as we dive not only into his proven success model perfected over the years, but his tips and tricks for getting anything you want in life on your own time. So welcome, Craig.
Hey, this is going to be a lot of fun, Mary Katherine.
Yeah, this will be a lot of fun. So I was just sharing with you that The Perfect Day Formula was one of the first books that I read when I started my Fit Body Bootcamp ownership journey.
That's awesome.
I loved the structure. For me at the time, it was like trying to find that time was so difficult and just to get it all done. But before we dive into that, I want to talk about your journey to not only writing those books, but your entrepreneurial journey and how you got involved in all of it.
Yeah, so way back in the day, I'm Canadian by birth, and I wanted to be a strength and conditioning coach in the National Hockey League of all things. So I wanted to be basically a personal trainer to hockey players. And so I went to school and did all this stuff. And then I got a lucky break in my final year of school. I started writing for Men's Health magazine because I'm introverted by nature. I like to write articles and stuff. And so I started an email newsletter, and I sent one of them to the magazine, and they got me in the magazine. Wow. Yes. And the thing is, by being introverted in nature, it means being in the gym as a trainer all day was actually very draining for me. So I switched away from being in the gym to being on the internet and writing workout programs and making videos as YouTube came along. And so I've been doing this forever and ever and ever. And then I met the founder of Fit Body Bootcamp, Bedros, right when he was starting Fit Body Bootcamp. And he and I have been friends for over a decade now. We coached many other fitness entrepreneurs, and then I think I opened my first Fit Body in 2013. So I had 4 of them, and here's a fun fact. I have never, ever been to any of them. So I was just the person who invested, and I had partners running them. Yeah. But we built, especially the Charleston one, Mount Pleasant, South Carolina, we built an amazing community, which is really one of the things that separates Fit Body Bootcamp apart from everybody is the community that you build. And, we just sold it. So, they had a last workout with my business partner, the owners, and there was hundreds of people there, and they do all these beach workouts and all this cool stuff, because without that community, it's difficult for you to succeed in anywhere area of life, whether you're a Fit Body owner, whether you're a Fit Body attendee, or whether you are part of a church or whatever. It's the community that brings you together, keeps you going through those tough days. You have people that lift you up, and that was powerful for me as a entrepreneur. And Bedros, the founder of Fit Body Bootcamp, was a key part of my community that helped me become a better person.
I love that you mentioned that so much because, I share very often that you can get a good workout anywhere, but you can't find that community and culture like you can at FitBody anywhere else. I mean, it is unmatched.
Yeah, absolutely. The friendships, the family aspect of it, and then it goes just beyond, like, the community events that they do, and so much that it brings them together. Because yes, you can get a good workout anywhere, but will you continue to do those workouts on the days that you don't want to go, and so on and so forth? And so I used to spend a lot of time living at Bedros's house. He has this guest house in the backyard, and his wife Diana, I would see her. I would get up very early in the morning, and I might cross paths with her at like 10 to 5 in the morning when she was going to a Fit Body boot camp to work out. And you could just see like how excited she was to go and hang out with her community and train with Kara Eckerman, the owner of the Fit Body that she went to, and she would just bring that energy back throughout the entire day because it started off with that great workout with the Fit Body community.
Yes, totally, totally. So you got involved with your Fit Body Bootcamp locations, and then where did you go from there? So you started your own personal coaching, your coaching business.
Well, so I was selling workout programs on the internet from 2001. So January 28th, 2001, I sold my first workout program on the internet. And then around 2009, we started doing follow-along workout videos that I would film at Fit Body locations. And then around 2015, I decided I didn't want to be in the fitness industry anymore. I was just tired of it. You can only say like do squats and then push-ups and then push-ups and then squats so many times in so many ways until you're like, okay, let's see what else I can do.
What should we do? Yeah.
And I wrote the Perfect Day formula from about 2013 to 2015 because I had so many gym owners and so many entrepreneurs of all different industries asking me, how do you get so much done? Because I was well known for having a couple of businesses. I didn't just have the fitness stuff. And they would see me. There was an email from the fitness business. There was an email from my other business, Early to Rise. There was an email from my other business called Internet Independence. And they're like, how are you doing this? This is obviously way before AI. So I was obviously doing it all myself. And they said, you're so productive. Coach me on doing that. Yeah. And so I started coaching in 2007 on my own. Then Bedros and I started coaching entrepreneurs in 2009. And in 2015, I released the Perfect Day formula because it was just all the frameworks that I was using to get so much done. And then a cool story about Perfect Day formula, especially that our audience will relate to, is that my absolute worst Amazon review is from a married woman of one. Okay, she says, she had all the excuses in the world of why this stuff wouldn't work for her. One of my best Amazon reviews is from a single mom of 3. And so it just shows you the power of mindset. They consumed the same content, but one of them immediately went to why this stuff will not work. Maybe it's because, this is a single man writing this book, whatever. This stuff will not work for me because. And then the other person said, this stuff has changed my life because it showed her the pathway to success. And so the lesson there is be that woman, that single woman with 3 kids who gets information and uses what is applicable to her or him and makes the changes in their life. And she doesn't have to love everything about it. She just has to see that these frameworks will work no matter what situation you're in, which is, the same as the Fit Body Bootcamp. Like, it doesn't matter what your situation is, the foundations of the short workouts and the community and the nutrition will get you results if your mind permits.
Yes. I love that so much. And I want to go back to people were reaching out to you asking, how are you doing it all? How are you structuring your day? I want you to walk us through, there had to have been something in your life that forced you to get serious with your time and how you did it. What was it? And what made you stop and say, okay, what changes do I need to make? How am I going to make them? What was that first step?
Yeah, so there was a couple things. And the first one is I was a personal trainer when I finished my college degree, and I didn't love it. It was an introverted type person. I'm not an introvert. I'm an introverted type person. I have introverted tendencies. I don't like to label myself as anything. Being in the gym, starting at 6 a.m., you go till about noon, and then you have a couple-hour break, and then everybody gets done work or done school, and they come back in. You might leave the gym at 6 or 7 o'clock at night. It's a very draining day. And I tried to work on my online business when I got home. But that was 7 o'clock at night, and I remember one night, it felt like someone was shoving glass shards in my eyes because it was so hard to keep my eyes open in front of the computer. And I realized, man, here I am, in my 20s, and I'm already getting up at 10 to 5 in the morning, and I got to get up earlier.
Right.
Because that's the only way that I'm going to make this work.
Done.
And I'm not saying that everything in life is solved by getting up earlier. It helps a little bit. But I decided I'd get up at 4:30 in the morning and work on my online business for 20 minutes. And in chatting so far in this interview, and then once before this interview, you said a phrase that you need to shift. And you said people are trying to find time. I was trying to find time. And you will never find time. It's not under the bed with your ab rocker that you bought by Body by Jake 20 years ago. It's not under the bed. You don't find time. You only make time. And so I decided I would make time in the morning. I wasn't going to find any time during the day. I was going to make time. I was going to make time in the morning from 4:30 till 10 to 5. I'd work in my online business. And then I'd have a shower. Then I'd catch the bus downtown. Then I'd train people all day long. And in the 10 minutes in between some clients, I would make that time and I would turn it into more work. 10 minutes at a time, you can get a lot done. And so I decided to make that shift. And that's the most important shift. Every single person listening to this, if you remember nothing else from this show, it's you do not find time. You have to make time for what matters. And that means making time for your workouts. You don't find time to go to FitBody. You make time to go to FitBody. You don't find time to do meal prep. You make time to do meal prep. You don't find time for your relationship. You don't find time for your kids. You make time for this. And so making time is a mentality shift. And then the thing is, when you find time, you're reactive, everything, the external forces are stronger than me type of person. When you make time, you are a proactive person. You control the world as much as you possibly can. And that's something that I'm big on, is making the world play by my rules as much as I can. So be proactive and make time. Now, the second thing that happened in my life that required me to be more diligent with my time was I had severe anxiety attacks in 2006. I even went to the emergency room twice, thought I was having a heart attack. And this is not like a woe is me thing. It was like, I'm a dumbass. So I was a binge drinker. I didn't express my thoughts. It was all my fault. And so I don't deserve any sympathy. But I learned from that, okay, I need to make time for stuff like yoga, meditation. I tried Qigong, Tai Chi, all these things that would then teach me how to breathe better and breathe properly and live a better lifestyle. And those things helped me escape the anxiety, which I had. And now I never have anxiety anymore. So understand a couple of things. One, if you do suffer from stress and anxiety, you can take control of it by making time to do the things that will get you out of it. And it is something that everybody can overcome. And a lot of it is by what you're doing that puts you in that situation. So those were two pivotal moments in my life that then made me realize, as much as I can really control a lot of my time, which allowed me to then be productive and then be successful, which then got more people asking about what I could do for them.
This is so impactful, and I love it because as a mom, and you're a parent as well, it's making the time, not the time. You're never going to have more time today than you're going to have in the future. Like, it's never going to be any different. You always have to make the time. No, it's never going to be easy. It doesn't matter what season of life you're in. And that is a common topic that we see with our clients at the gym is, they come in, they're excited about a new program. They're coming to the, let's say, 5:30 a.m. workouts, and then something happens, and they say, well, I no longer have the time. And so it's like, okay, what happened? What shift? How'd your mindset shift? And you talked a little bit about mindset. It's like just having that mindset that I can and I will do this, and not like falling, not playing the victim card. Like, okay, my child is sick, or it's really busy at work right now, so I need to use that as an excuse, use that as a crutch, not to show up for myself, not to stay committed to this workout. What would you tell somebody that, and maybe you've experienced this, if you've had a client that has come to you and said, I just don't have time to get my workouts in because of the season of life I'm in? What would you tell them, and what have you told people?
What I found, and my entire fitness career was based off of helping people realize it doesn't have to be this all or nothing, 9 hours a week in the gym. Because if you can imagine 25 years ago, which is when I started in the fitness industry, things were a lot different then. Everybody was reading these muscle magazines, and the muscle magazines said, you had to do an hour of cardio per day, and you had to lift like 4 or 5 days per week. So, you add it all up, it looked like it was 9 hours in the gym. And my research as a student showed that, 2 hours a week, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, a couple times per week could give you great results because nutrition is so important.
Right.
And so I had to work so hard to get people over this all or nothing. And even if you don't have 30 minutes, in 10 minutes, man, I can lay a whooping on anybody in 10 minutes. I actually have a video that's been watched, and it got really popular during COVID. So it had 1 million views on YouTube before COVID, and then in the first couple of months of COVID, it had 4 million views. And it's a 4-minute workout video. And if you do this 4-minute workout video, it's called like the 4-minute belly fat destroyer, I think, which was filmed at a Fit Body Boot Camp in Michigan. And if you do this workout, like you will be like sweating.
All right, we'll link this in the show notes to do that 10-minute at-home workout.
I think it got up to like 7 million views. It's a 4-minute workout. 4-minute workout.
4 minutes. Sorry, excuse me. 4 minutes.
So anyway, so going back, Mrs. Jones is going to the Fit Body Boot Camp 3 times per week, and now all of a sudden the season of life has gotten busy. I would say to her, listen, if I owned the gym, I would say, listen, come in for 10 minutes, and you're going to do the warm up, you're going to do the first circuit, and if you got a jet, it ain't going to be any, it ain't going to hurt my feelings. Yeah. And if you can only come in 1.5 times per week, or if you can come in 2 times this week and 1 time next week, you don't have to come in 3 times for the entire workout. Now, I'm not saying everybody cut out of your Fit Body Bootcamp workouts early, but understand that it doesn't have to be 100% of the time. If you can get 60% of the time in, you keep going with it, and you stay as active as possible on those off days. And just because you're busy doesn't mean the nutrition can't be pretty good. And so it's when people go from, nothing to all to nothing, it's very hard to get back on nothing again.
Yes.
And the next thing you know, it's not until, you're out of nothing again in May, and you're just like, well, I'll get back into it in January. And that's not the way that we can go about it. And so the more that you stay in a consistent zone, the more that it becomes a lifestyle. And so, yesterday we were stuck at a passport office here doing a passport for my daughter, and we of course, they didn't tell us to bring all the sheets. And so, we spent 3 hours there, and then they're like, oh, you're missing this one sheet. Well, couldn't you have told me this like 5 minutes after I got here? So anyways, we got to go back tomorrow. And, I probably won't get a workout in traditionally, but the passport office is beside a giant set of stairs. And yesterday, my wife and I were with our one daughter inside, and our nanny was with our other daughter, and our other daughter took the nanny up and down the stairs 50 times. And
that nanny got a workout.
No, because usually we give our nanny a ride, or usually our nanny walks from our house to where she catches transportation. And last night we said, do you want a ride? She goes, yes, please. And so tomorrow I'm going to be at the passport office walking up and down the stairs with my daughter, because I know that I can't get my regular workout in because I got to spend 3 hours in the passport office again. That's the mentality that you will eventually shift to, that it doesn't have to be a regular workout in the gym. I don't have to, have my membership card. It doesn't have to be that way, but that's the way that you will stay fit forever, is when you realize I can make time in the day no matter what is thrown at me.
Yes, I love that you mentioned that and mentioned consistency, because we talk about this a lot at boot camp. Is like, if you have that all or nothing mentality, and people, it's just a natural instinct to try to adopt that when you're starting something new, especially when you're excited. And for a client that maybe they haven't been working out for a long time, and they come into boot camp and they're excited and they're riding that high, they get in that all or nothing mindset. As soon as something doesn't go their way, they easily fall off the wagon, and it's so hard for them to get back in there. And so if they can just learn how to stay consistent, embrace the messy, and just do a little bit at a time, as you mentioned, I think that's so impactful. And then also something that I do in my life is I very much live to the 80-20 rule. 80% of my day, my week, I'm spending time on things that are good for me. I'm fueling my body with things that are nutritious, and I'm doing things that are going to move the needle in my professional and personal life. 20% of the time, I'm having fun. I'm having the cookie after dinner. It's like I have this piece of me. I allow this part of me to enjoy myself and not be so structured. But 80% of the time, I'm focused on moving forward.
Right, and especially that works so well when you are committed to it for a
lifetime.
Yeah, a lifestyle in a long time. Absolutely, and that's the way that we need to look at it.
Yes, definitely. So I want to go to your parenthood journey, because in doing my research, you have 2 under 2, correct?
Yeah, so one is about to be 20 months. They're both girls. One is about to be 20 months, and the other one is about to be 3 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you have been called the world's most disciplined man at times.
Well, they just mean productive, right?
Right. So I want to talk to you about your productivity and your discipline and how that's changed in your role as a parent. Because a lot of our clients at the gym, they are parents and they're trying to figure out how to fit health and fitness, how to work on themselves personally and professionally, and still make time for their family. So tell us about how everything's changed for you.
Surprisingly, like I would say that for me personally, and don't just think that, well, he's the dad, so it's different.
Right.
Because of the way that my life was set up, things didn't change that much. And so I get up a little bit earlier now than I ever have because, I'm committed to I spend 6 hours a day with my kids. So I spend from 5:30 in the morning till 8:30 in the morning with them. And that includes a family walk. So, one thing that everyone, if you possibly can, is just be as active as possible with your kids. And so it takes about 45 minutes for us to do our walk in the morning, and it's my wife, our 2 girls, and my dog. And so, we're pretty efficient. We're checking a lot of boxes there. So from 5:30 till 8:30 in the morning, and then from about 4:30 until 7:30 at night. And then sometimes I'll also go at lunchtime and do swim lesson with my daughter and all that sort of stuff. Now, I was committed to it in advance, and I knew that this meant putting the phone away more, that I wasn't going to be able to do as much, and I would have to say no to certain things. And in the past, when I had, kids are amazing boundaries. They give you these amazing boundaries that help you identify what really matters and what doesn't matter.
Yes.
And we don't have a TV in the house.
Oh.
Well, I just honestly, I think so much of it is garbage. And what's the point of it? And at the end of my life, I'm not going to sit there and go, I wish I watched
more TV.
Whatever Stranger Things is. It's everybody's watching Stranger. Like, I'm not going to sit there and go, I wish I would have watched Stranger Things. I'm never gonna ever going to say that. And in fact, I wish that I never watched any NFL football. I mean, I used to watch a bunch when I was like a teenager. It's such a waste of time. It's a waste of time. And so understand what really matters. And so sit there and think, like, when you're 90 years old sitting in your artificially intelligence powered rocking chair, what are you going to sit back and look and think about what you wished you did? And, one of my greatest regrets in life is that I have 0 videos of my father. And so my father passed away in 2008, back when these little flip cams were becoming popular. And so I had one, and I could have filmed them, and I didn't. And that matters more to me, like family matters more to me than any of these other things. So for me, I built my entire life around family, and now that I have one, there wasn't that much transition. You have to do more planning and preparation. You have to think about it. You have to say no. We buy back our time by getting other people to do some of the things that would take time in our house, and we do get extra childcare. We have a nanny, and so it allows me to work. But it also has forced me, I just don't do 10 podcasts anymore. I used to do 5 podcasts a week and 10 a month, or sometimes even more, and I just don't do them as much. And I don't say yes to every single thing that I could possibly do. Write an article for somebody's website that I like to work, and in the past I would say yes to all this stuff. So you just have to be ruthless with your time and understand that, man, you're just never going to get that time back with your kids, and that's really important. And so you need to be energetic, so it's like this virtuous cycle. So you have to go and take care of yourself so you have energy so that you can keep up with your kids. And when you keep up with your kids, you actually get more fit, and it's just this virtuous cycle. And you want to get into as many of those as possible. And for me, one of the hardest things, so the area that I screwed up the most when we had kids was just not keeping the phone away. And so if I bring the phone into the kitchen and don't leave it in my office, I will eventually wander back to it. Or my daughter will grab it and bring it over. Or, the problem is that the phone is the camera. And so, we're just taking videos and pictures all the time. And the next thing you know, you're like, oh, I want to send this to grandma. And you send it to grandma, but then it's like you check 3 messages. And so that's where I had to put a few more boundaries in place. But other than that, it was simply a matter of making time for them, and then making time for the 2 or 3 other things that really mattered, that are going to move myself ahead in life, and realizing this is what I prayed for. And so everything that feels like an obstacle or is difficult, this is what I wanted. So love it.
I really love how you mentioned that children are boundaries, because I have felt like that at times. within the last few years with our kids. My kids are 5 and 2.5. And so as we've grown in our parenthood journey, we've noticed that we don't hang out with some of the friends that we used to anymore because they're not in the same stage of life and they don't have similar goals as us. And we do use our kids as boundaries. And I had never really thought of it in a way that framed it as your kids, you value them so much. So they're that boundary, yes, but you're valuing that time with them and you're blocking yourself from things that you know aren't going to add value to your life.
Yeah, and I remember when one of my mentors had his first kid, and I just saw it, like he became a better entrepreneur when he had kids because, again, it just forces you, when you don't have any boundaries, you just say yes to all these things and like, oh man, I'm so busy, I'm doing this project and that project, and no real results come from the project. And then when you have a kid, like now you just say no to the things that didn't bring you any results in the first place.
Right.
And whether it's an actual work project or other stuff. Now, I know what some people are thinking. Well, Craig, you own your own business and I have a corporate job or I do this, that, or the other thing. And I don't get to say, yes or no to certain projects. Well, this is where you have to just be so much more ruthless with the other habits that you have in your life. And it is, you don't have to, not have a television. I mean, you can get away with a laptop anyways, and not have a television, but you do have to have that self-reflection and introspection about what am I doing with my time?
Right.
And, I'm here at the Fit Body Mastermind teaching about the power of a time journal where you journal what you do all day and where your time goes. Because that's a question I'm sure everybody asks. Where did the time go today? Well, if you actually were able to monitor it, a lot of it goes to your phone. And so you need to set up systems that stop you from using your phone. And one thing that we've shared with parents in our coaching program is a simple app called Opal, so OPAL,
Opal,
for the iPhone. And I think there's an Android version called OneSec, so ONESEC. And it just blocks you access to apps or your text messages or whatever. And so my business partner in the Fit Body that we just sold, he's a head coach in my program. He blocks his phone from 5 a.m. till 8 a.m. and then from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. So 5 a.m. to 8 a.m. is his major work block, and then 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. is his family time. And so even if he picked up his phone, turned it on, and tried to access Instagram, he wouldn't be able to during those times. And it is a forced boundary upon you. He still has his phone. He can take photos and all that sort of stuff. And you can set it up where it only blocks apps or, so you can still text grandma or you can still call an emergency.
Call.
Yeah.
Right.
And so you have to use those things. Those things exist. They're available. They're the boundaries that are forced upon you that will then help you become better at it. And understand, listen, if you are addicted to your phone right now, and listen, I've been addicted to my phone, so it's not like you should feel ashamed about it. You're not going to go from 9 hours of phone time today to 0 tomorrow. You're going to go from, your goal should be, you can use screen time on your phone. You can see how long you've been on your phone. And you go, okay, I was on my phone 4 hours and 43 minutes on average every day this week. Next week, my goal is to be on my phone for under 4 hours and 15 minutes on average every day. Great, awesome, do that. And then the week after, get it down to 3 hours and 59 minutes, and then so on and so forth. And you're going to get control over it rather than it having control over you, because we all know, every single person who is listening to this, we all know those people who you're like, they have one more kid than I do. They work a more stressful job than I do. And how the heck are they doing all these things with their family? And it's because they just have better control over their time. And they say no to a bunch of things that we're still saying yes to that aren't really adding value. And it's not easy, but it's worth it.
Yeah. So many people are so busy being busy too that they don't even take the time to realize what is stressing them out in life and what's taking away from their time. And I love how you mentioned just looking at your phone, because that's something we carry around with us all the time. And us too, as parents, when we started opening up additional Fit Body locations, we were finding ourselves so connected to our team and our clients 24/7. And when we brought child number 2 into the family, we realized, okay, this phone is controlling us. We have got to set boundaries. And that was not easy. But I was finding myself playing with my kids, having dinner, and just checking the emails, responding to the messages right away, as if everything was urgent. And it's not. And so like we very much as a society, I think, live our lives like everything needs to be done right away. And if we can just take a step back and focus on the present and be in that moment, you're going to feel so much more fulfilled.
Yeah, I tell people in my business, we're not in an emergency business.
No.
If there's an emergency and you're calling me, you've made a big mistake because I can't help you. And so if blood is involved, do not call me. There's other people who you call when there's an emergency.
Yeah.
And therefore, if blood is not involved, it's not an emergency and it can wait. Because eventually, you go to bed. And if you go to bed at 10 o'clock and you get an email at 10:05, it sits there for 8 hours. And if it sat there for 8 hours, it can sit there for another 3 hours because that's just the nature. Unless you're in an actual emergency business, you're not in an emergency business. And when you get that and you go, oh, yeah, that's right, I'm not. And this can wait. And you might get another email from some people saying, hey, did you get my email?
Yeah.
It's like, maybe I did, maybe I didn't.
Yeah.
But you didn't get my reply yet because I haven't given it to you.
Right.
Because it's not the time for it. And so having that ruthless structure and that right perspective around communication will then allow you the freedom, and the freedom is up in here, right? Because if the biggest amount of freedom, not just the freedom to reply at a different time, but you don't want your brain to be like a jumbled attic, right? We've all gone to, grandma's or your crazy aunt's house, and her garage or her attic is full of junk,
boxes and junk,
right? And if your brain is full of junk, like I got to reply to this person, I got to do this, and it's reactive, it's never going to actually be able to have the freedom and white space to operate and solve the big problems. And one of the things we force the entrepreneurs that we coach, we force them to take an hour and a half walk every week without their phone in nature, because you will have far greater breakthroughs doing that than you will sitting replying. You will have the big breakthroughs. And so, anybody who's listening to this who runs and in silence will go, yes, I've solved so many problems. I mean, even in the shower, right, where there's no external inputs and you're actually allowing your brain to connect the dots in a novel environment away from your workspace, your brain operates different, and that's why you have great ideas in the shower. And so you want to facilitate a schedule and an environment where you can have those big breakthroughs, which are exponentially more important to your success than replying to an email right away.
Yes, I agree with that 100%. I run a lot and I don't do it in silence. I listen to music, but I put my phone in airplane mode so that I can't see a text message come in. I can't have somebody bothering me and then react and being reactive right away, because it's hard, I would say, as a business owner in the industry that we're in, to not want to be reactive all the time because you want to solve problems quickly, but you do have to stop yourself at times. And so by me putting my phone in airplane mode, I don't have to be reactive in that hour that I'm running. And I many times stop and write things down in my notes because I come up with amazing ideas when I'm running, when my body is moving.
Yeah.
And I have that time.
The funny thing with email is there's two things. One, the amount of email you get depends on the amount of email you send. So if you feel like you get a lot of email, it's your fault because you send too much email. You send too much email. And what you should be doing is, if you get multiple emails from one person in a day, you need to train them to send one email to you with multiple points inside one email, so that then you're only replying to one email, and it cuts down the volume of the emails in your inbox. Because there's something natural to us when we see a whole bunch of emails that it causes stress inside of us. So if you're able to reduce that by the number of emails that you get, because you send fewer emails, then you will receive fewer emails, and you'll actually be one step further ahead on that. The other thing is that I know this personally, that sometimes I forget emails that I send.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you email somebody and it's like really not that important, but you just decide to send them an email and ask them like some random question. And then like 3 days later, you're like, like you get a reply back. You go, I totally forgot I even sent that email. Most of the emails that you receive don't actually deserve a response. And so if you just stop responding to those emails, people will be trained not to send you many emails anymore. Like, I don't get any email.
Yeah.
Like, the only emails I get is because our Amazon account is hooked up. So I just I find out when my wife has
when
ordered.
She orders something.
When she's ordered another Minnie Mouse outfit for our daughter, which is pretty much most of the emails that I get. So other than that, there are days where I wish someone emailed me. Yeah, and because I like email, I like writing things, but I don't get any email because I trained people over the last 10 years not to email me because I've told people like I'm really productive. I don't answer email. The emails that I do get are from my team members who know to only send me one email per day, and people's email habits are like dogs. You can train them.
Yeah.
And you can and if you reward somebody, what do you do if a dog barks? You say the dog's name. That's a reward to the dog, and that's why the dog keeps barking.
Right.
And so if somebody emails you and you immediately email them back, you have trained them, you have rewarded them by emailing them back, and they're like, oh, anytime I want to know, like sometimes people will ask me what the weather is like in Cancun. I'm like, I'm not answering that email for sure. Like you're coming down here, like you can try this thing called the internet. And many of your emails will fall in that category. And if you answer that question, you have trained somebody that they can bark at you anytime, and that when they bark, you will positively reinforce their barking. And you can't do that because it's just not good for your life.
These are such great tricks and tips, and they can be applied in every area of someone's life. I want to go to your book. So The Perfect Day Formula. Tell us briefly what it's about and how can our listeners use it for their life?
Yeah, so The Perfect Day Formula has 3 sections. It teaches you to control what you can, which is the morning. It teaches you to cope with the chaos that you can't control, which is the afternoon, where everybody's bringing you their so-called emergencies. And then it helps you concentrate on what counts by helping you understand what really matters so that you can free up your time during the day by being disciplined during the day so you have free time at night to do whatever you want, which is generally, in most cases, the audience that I write to, which is be with their families. And it's by structuring your day that way that, yes, yeah, okay, it sounds like you're a pretty disciplined guy and you're pretty regimented and you're pretty structured. Yeah, I am during the day when it needs it.
Right, when it matters.
So that I can do whatever the heck I want when I'm done work.
Right.
That's what it's about. I don't want to have my work bleed into my evening. I'm a big believer in separation of work life and home life, as much as you possibly can, as much as you possibly want. And some people will want to blend them, and that's fine. But if you don't want to blend them, then you have to be super structured and disciplined during the day to get the work done, get ahead, so that you can just be free as a bird, like the way that my parents were. My father was a farmer, so it not perfect, but my mom, when she was done work, there was no email to check in the 80s, and she wouldn't have checked it anyways because she was off doing her farm wife things at night.
Right. So what is the first step that you would tell someone who maybe they're listening to this and they know that right now they're not managing their time well?
So there's 3 things, and we've covered 2 of them already, which is 1, you switch from finding time to making time. That is a huge mental shift. It is switching from being reactive to proactive. Very, very important. And the next thing is I just spent a lot of time on this with Bryce in the podcast we did for the Fitness CEO, is that you need to do self-reflection. Self-reflection and introspection. We call it watching the movie of your day. So everybody has like a movie script for their day, right? This is how the day's going to go. That's great. We're all looking forward into the future. But most people never look back on how the day went and, connecting the dots between this is what I did and here was the effect of it.
Right.
So like just using like a real basic, boring example is a lot of people go through life, a lot of unhealthy people go through life falling asleep at 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon because they ate a very unhealthy lunch. Now they do this for 45 years because they never decided to look back and reflect and go, I wonder why I'm tired at 3 o'clock. Well, it's because you went to Burger King and you had a soda and French fries and a hamburger, and that's why you're tired. So most people don't do that. Now that's an extreme example. But what you should do is at some point during the day, and I know that we're busy, so you're probably looking at when the kids get to bed, take 5 minutes and just go back to your schedule, your daily to-do list and go, all right, I wanted to get up at 6 o'clock. I hit the snooze button twice, so I got up at 6:20, which meant that I was late for Fit Body Boot Camp. I missed the warm-up. I didn't have a great workout. I was kind of frustrated. Then I was late getting home, late getting the kids to school. And everything, by getting up late, I knocked down all these negative dominoes over the course of the day. All right. So what we really need to do, we really need to get up on time in order for the rest of the day to go great. Now, why didn't we get up on time? Well, it's because we went to bed late. Oh, okay. We need to learn about Craig's reverse alarm, which means you set an alarm an hour before bed. You turn off all your electronics so you get to bed on time, which means you wake up on time, which means the rest of the day goes great. But you won't discover that until you watch the movie that goes with the movie script of the day. And when you do that little bit of self-reflection and introspection, you get 1% or sometimes 10% better day to day. And over time, that compounds into greatness until the next thing you know, you're that person that everybody looks at and goes, they have more kids than I do. They're fitter than I am. They have a more stressful job, and yet they're doing this amazing, how do they do it? It's unbelievable. You're going to be that person if you get better every single day by looking at your performance. Yeah. And like if you take a look at all the greatest people in the world at their highest levels, sports person, probably Taylor Swift does this. She probably has watched, and she probably watches the tape. Concert tonight, next day, her and her team go through. How can we be better at it? And that's how all of a sudden, you know, it's the greatest concert ticket in the world that you have to get. She didn't just like make stuff up as she went along. No, she looked at her performance. She reviewed it. How can she get better? Every single show she tried to get better. And then years and years of doing that, and all of a sudden she has the hottest ticket in the world. It's not luck. That's just the way that every high performer is. Absolutely. And that's what, you know, Fit Body Bootcamp does with their trainers. Bryce and I were talking about it. Like, let's watch the game tape of a trainer taking people through a class, and then how can we up-level your performance so that the end user, you know, Mrs. Jones gets an even better workout, an even better experience from it. And it's by doing that ruthless reflection that's one of the keys to getting better.
Well, there you have it, friends.
Yeah.
Those are the 3 steps that you need to take to gaining control of your time. Number 1 being making time, not just saying like, I don't have the time, but making the time every single day for yourself. And then shifting your mindset to not being reactive, but acting proactive.
Absolutely.
And then self-reflection. I love that 3rd one because...
Well, listen, I sucked at everything. I was the worst at everything. I had every bad habit, and you know, I was a horrible speaker. I was boring at podcasts. I only got better by, you know, looking at how bad I sucked and trying to get a little bit better next time.
Yeah. And I love the self-reflection piece because too many times, myself included, something will happen in your life that didn't go your way.
Right.
And you don't want to think about it. You don't want to look back on that. And you will actually grow from reflecting on what happened. What, you know, course correction could you make if you had the opportunity to do it again? And how can you grow from that?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And it's like one of my superpowers to realize how stupid I am sometimes.
Right.
And like even in the moment, like, oh, I can't believe I said that. And I'm going to pay a price for it.
Yep.
But I know I'm not going to do that next time. And why did I say it in that way? Why did I use that tonality? You know why? It's because you were thinking about this and it got you in a bad mood and you had too much coffee. So cut back on the coffee and don't get fired up when you go and spend time with your kids or whatever. It's like, it's cause and effect, and it's missing so much from people's lives. But once you like sort it out, you can really accelerate in all areas.
Yeah, I love that. And just like on a personal note, you know, for me, like I used to struggle with anxiety as well. And it's been like a lifelong journey. And I used to think like my daughter, that her behavior at 4 years old, she was having trouble at school.
Mm-hmm.
I used to think, oh, it was her behavior that we needed to fix. There was something going on that we needed to fix. It was actually mine. And reflecting on that and like me taking control of the way I was handling situations when things didn't go as planned, when the expectation wasn't there, you know, wasn't met. And it's like reflecting on my own journey and how could I, you know, grow in my own role as a mother. And that's how I grew from that. And that was,
That's super powerful. And a lot of the situations where things kind of go wrong is because expectations are not met.
Right.
And, you know, if I have a dog and two kids under the age of 2. It's like, I expect
nothing.
I should expect nothing. The problem is I do expect things. And I'm like,
right.
You dummy, the dog is trying to eat that vomit because it's a dog. That's what a dog does. You like, don't expect a dog to act like a rational human being. That's
right.
The dog wants to bark and eat stuff and act like a wild animal because it's a wild animal.
Yeah.
And so, you know, you just have to get your expectations in line for sure.
Yes.
The only thing you control is yourself. And that's, where we need to start the journey of personal improvement.
Yes. Well, Craig, this was so great. And
Good.
I know that our listeners are going to get so much incredible value from this episode together. Where can people find you? Where can they find your books?
Yeah, so hit me up on Instagram at Real Craig Ballantyne, and my books. So the book that I actually think everyone should read is not Perfect Day Formula. So if you're just going to read one Craig book, it's Perfect Week Formula. So perfectweekformula.com, because I wrote perfectweekformula.com after I got like 1,500 questions about, well, what do I do in this situation? What do I do in that situation after writing Perfect Day Formula? So it's really a more comprehensive, and also it's like, well, that's one day. What about all 7 days of the week? So it's a more comprehensive how-to book to get more out of your week, to block your time, to make more time. So read that book first, Perfect Week Formula, and then you can go back to the Perfect Day Formula and get your mornings right and everything. But that would be the best recommendation. And yes, it also is something that moms with the right mindset appreciate.
Oh, definitely. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us for another episode of the Beyond the Scale podcast. As always, please make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, check us out on Apple Podcast and Spotify, and share this episode with all of your friends. Until next time, you guys.